Good evening. I'm happy to see you all here tonight, and as I was watching you come in, I think that every one of you represents a struggling child, and that's what I hope that you're here for. I hope we're looking at understanding and looking at some easy solutions maybe to some real complex problems. Kids are difficult when they have complex problems and we worry about them, but some of the answers aren't as difficult as we really think they are. I'm Dianne Kraft. I have a special education degree. I have a master's degree for what that's worth. We know we all learn more from our own kids at home. I got my degree from St. Cloud University in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And I've been giving seminars to parents on struggling learners for the last 8 years. Parents and professionals, they come with certificates. But where my heart is for helping parents understand where their children are coming from when they have learning problems and maybe some ways that we can alleviate and take the stress out of their problems. We're going to look, tonight, this Wednesday, and next Wednesday at options. Not that we have all the answers, things we're learning all the time. Some things that are real interesting, though I was just talking to a gentleman back there, Dr. Werbach, who does medical research for the UCLA Medical School, has done research and found out that we wonder why so many more of our boys seem to fall into the struggling learner category. They have 3 times more essential fatty acid deficiency than girls. Well, always wondered also why they grow out of it when they get through puberty. Why do they seem to get better? Because the glandular system is run on oils. When you study the whole oils, we know that oils, good oils, are the precursors to what we call prostaglandins, which is the glandular system. Dr. Leo Galland, whose book is in your bibliography, in his Superimmunity for Kids, says that he doesn't know a child who has hyperactivity who hasn't been helped by using oils. When we study how the brain works with the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, and the transmission center we call the Corpus Callosum or Corpus Callosum, which transmits the signals from left to right hemisphere, which we know our brain is run on electricity. The interesting part about that is if you look at a model of a brain in color, you'll see that that's what they call white matter. Just as the myelin sheath that coats the nerve endings is 90% fat. So as I'm studying the brain and we're looking at the things that help kids, fats play an extremely large role. Have you noticed that a fair amount of your children that are struggling tend to have pretty dry hair? Sometimes we teachers feel, after you study this for a while, that we could kind of pick our kids out. You know, they're the ones that you're always wetting the comb one more time, getting that hair down, and it goes wing, and tend to have dry skin, tend to have eczema, towards rashes when they scratch their arm, it leaves a white trail. Those things are essential fatty acid deficiencies. And in that book that we have here available in the library and all the other books, he lays out a real easy plan for you to follow. If you see these kinds of symptoms, try this kind of oil. If you see these kinds of symptoms, try that kind of oil. If you don't notice a difference in 2 weeks, these are just foods that we're looking at. But these kids are always very thirsty. Have you noticed that I noticed as a teacher that they always were going to the water fountain. We used to think they were just trying to get out of work, but no, they weren't. They were really very thirsty. I remember one mother telling me about her son who would just take a butter stick whenever he could get at it. At 2 years old, when they would be shopping, you know how you're getting some vegetables, he would reach in the bin and get out a butter stick and just start chewing on that. They seem to know what they want, and they seem to go after it in different ways. There's some kids who just love eggs. The lecithin in eggs is what much of the myelin sheath is made out of. So we're learning a whole lot more. Why do the medicines that we give the kids for ADHD, why do they work? Well, they fire the neurotransmitter serotonin in many cases, and there's a dopamine receptor involved. Well, if we look at some of the foods, we can see, well, but what's the step before that will fire this series of things that will get that neurotransmitter working the way we want. So it's a fascinating study, and there's great hope out there because we're learning so much more than we ever knew before.